Let's start from the 1 ball to the 2 ball. This is quite simple. All I want to do is bring the cue ball to here, leave it pretty much frozen on that short rail that we have an angle to come from the 2 ball to the 3 ball. And we manage that by just hitting a bit of high on the cue ball, that the cue ball follows a bit forward. Since the angle is going to the right, the cue ball is going to drift to the left. So just watch. I'm going very close to the ball because I don't putting a lot of speed on. This means you can see the kind of strokes I'm doing. They are very, very slow. And then I'm just gonna roll it in like this. It's not perfectly frozen to the rail, so we have to do a bit of work because not only do we want to get a shot on the 3 ball, we also need an angle to come to the 4 ball, and then from the 4 ball, we have to come all the way down to the orange 5 ball. So this is going to be super, super difficult. So first of all here, it would be nice to have a bit of an angle on the 3 ball, be around this area that we can play low left, and then come over to give ourselves an angle on it 4 ball, to then come 1, 2, 3 rails to the 5 ball. From then on, it's pretty standard. We have one really interesting shot, which will be this one. So let's try to get on the 3 ball that way. So you can see we have a tiny bit of an angle here. So if I'm just trying to stun the cue ball following the tangent line, cue ball probably comes out exactly to here, and you can see this is no good. So we need a bit of backwards rotation on the cue ball. We just need a bit of loam. And since we're hitting really hard, just a bit below center will do the job. So let's play that shot. You can see my strokes will also be a bit bigger because I will need some speed, aiming a bit below center. And then just bringing the cue ball over with a pretty good angle on the 3 ball. It would be nice to be a bit more here because now it's a bit too much angle to comfortably avoid the 6 ball. So we're gonna put a really nice low left stroke in that we definitely don't end up behind the 6 ball. So here you will see me doing bigger strokes, and I'm trying to really smooth all of that in. I want to have a nice relaxed follow through. I don't want to hit really hard. No, I just want to have a really good timing through the cue ball. This is going to be important. So maximum low and left, trying to end around here in the best case. So watch my stroke. Having bigger backstrokes now. Just very relaxed. You can see I sacrificed a bit of distance, so didn't try to come all the way to here because of the harder I'm hitting, the more the cue ball has a tendency to go to here. But the problem is this doesn't make this shot any easier because I would have loved to be closer. So now we have to adjust a bit more for the spin. It's difficult because now we want to spin that ball with a right spin to bring it from here basically to the right and around like this. So since I'm using right spin, the cue ball will deflect to the left. This means I'm gonna aim a bit more to the right. So I'm trying to aim fuller because the right spin will push the cue ball a tiny bit to the left. And I'm hitting very hard, so deflection is just the only thing I need to worry about. So I'm aiming that ball basically to here with right spin and really a lot of speed because we have to come all the way around and end up in the best case with a bit of an angle on that 5 ball. Straight is also okay, but basically any angle works here. So I'm just focusing on playing that in with my feel-good stroke and just bringing the cue ball nicely around. Watch the stroke once again. So I don't know if you can see that, but I'm aiming that to full and I'm putting right spin on the cue ball. And you can see the cue ball comes nicely, hits that 3rd cushion, comes perfectly in line with the 5 ball. We will always have a shot. This was perfect. Okay, of course, I want to accomplish this now. This is going to be a bit tricky. I mean, I have a bit too little angle to just roll that in because the cue ball will just die down here. So I basically have 2 options. I'm going to stun the ball out like this, but if the cue ball ends here on that line, you can see if the cue ball comes out like this, I will have not a very good shot until the cue ball ends here. So I either need to draw it a bit more, which requires a lot more cue action because I need to really put the draw and right spin into the cue ball, On the other hand, what I could also do is I'm gonna play high and left or just left spin, bring the cue ball to here, back to here, and then nicely into the line for the 6 ball again. Problem is, the left spin makes it a bit missable. So you definitely have to adjust a bit for deflection. You would think that once again, you're gonna hit left spin. You need to aim a bit fuller, but don't underestimate that the cue ball is now on the rail. So your cue will be a tiny bit elevated. This means a curve. So I would say this one, I would actually aim a bit thinner in that case. Okay, let's give it a try. High and left spin. And the cue ball is pretty good, almost perfect. Just got a bit risky because I got really, really close here. Okay, now we're coming to that interesting situation because from the 7 ball to the 8 ball, we are basically all the time straight. So we have to draw the cue ball back. And maybe if you're drawing the cue ball back, it's very difficult to time it exactly right. So we will need a plan B here. So I would say we have two options here. We could either try to bring the cue ball, I would say still to here, cheat the pocket, bring the cue ball around like this into the line of the 8 ball. Or what we can also do is bring the cue ball to here, do basically the same thing. It's a bit easier because we're getting rid of that first rail we need to hit where it's really difficult to control compared to here. So I really like that. What we also have is, now this needs a lot of attention because it's an interesting shot, bringing it to here and basically play the shot, the same shot, but the other way. But on that case, we're pretty much crossing the line of the 8 ball compared to playing it from here, where we're pretty much from that rail going into the line of the 8 ball. And this is why I'm trying to bring the cue ball frozen to that rail. Of course, it becomes a bit more missable in that case if you're trying to stun the cue ball all the way to here, comparing to just leaving the cue ball here. But your life will be a lot easier if you have at least any kind of angle on that 7 ball. So let's give it a try. Trying to just stun the ball. Pretty much center of the cue ball. Tiny bit of left spin. And the cue ball comes nicely to here. Almost perfect. Frozen would be ideal because then the cue ball pretty much comes from that angle and goes more naturally to here. Now the cue ball wants to go into that direction and then it has to go into that, which is not 100% natural. But we're cheating the pocket now. You see, if you're hitting that now super thin, you can basically hit any point on that 7 ball and it will drop. So we need to hit the right point, I would say around here, because then the natural angle goes already to here. Touch of left spin will help us. So if we get this shot right, you can see 8 to the 9, it's pretty much over. So this is here the match winning shot. Gonna hit center of the ball, aim to the right point. Just some left spin on the ball, not too much. And like that, not ideal. We didn't win the match yet. Did put too little left spin. You can see what now happened. The cue ball came to here and to that rail. With that left spin, it hits earlier here, and we have a straighter shot on the 8 ball. So you can see we've played it almost perfect so far, but this one single shot really made things a lot more difficult. I have no other chance than to roll that in and use a touch of right spin to check the cue ball. I could also come to here, and to here without spin, but I don't really like shooting the 9 ball from here, especially in pressure situation. And the advantage is, if you're now playing that shot with right spin, bring the cue ball to here and you're missing that shot, very often the 8 ball will end up around here and the 9 ball is in between. So if you're missing that shot, it looks a bit like luck when you snooker your opponent, but it's actually calculated luck. Okay, I'm gonna hit really soft with right spin. Cue ball will curve a bit to the right because I'm hitting super soft and not really hard now. This means I have to aim a bit more to the left because the cue ball curves to the right. So pretty much aiming that 8 ball to here, I would say. Okay, let's see what happens if I miss or if I make it. Really interesting, no matter the outcome now. Okay, I played that with a bad speed. I hit that one too hard. This means the cue ball didn't just stop here. And of course, that way I would not have gotten the save. So this was actually, I mean, I made it, but I played it with a bad speed. I didn't give myself the best chances with that type of speed. But I have a 9 ball off the rail. Not gonna use any spin, just high on the cue ball. And believe it or not, I had a time when I couldn't make a single one of those shots whenever the cue ball was on the rail. It was crazy. And damn it, just as I said it, we missed the 9 ball. And this is the crazy thing about 9 ball. We did such a great job. This is what we left our opponent. And of course, he's gonna shoot that in. So really interesting lesson, even though I missed the 9 ball. Crazy.